So we will be talking about linear regression and logistic regression today, right? So let me run this. So first we talk about linear regression. We are going to do the practicals of what we learned yesterday, right? Let me make it bold. Yes. No. Yeah, link I will share with all of you. Let me share. Thanks for pointing out, Ms. Sana. So you can see the link in the chat window. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for your wishes. Yeah, you can see there the link there. I can have a view on that. I think I don't know whether I have given the edit permission. Let me check that. If edit permission is there, we will try to change the code right now when I'm doing. So I will. Yeah, only view permission is there. It's fine. So you can view the code, right? So you can refresh it so that you will be able to see whatever things I do. You will be able to see. You can copy the thing and you can try it. If in case of any error, you can try that. Right. Now, we are going to implement linear regression for a sample data here. Right. So we will go to data set, but before that, I will take first half an hour to explain, with the artificially created data. Right. So the next half an hour, I will explain how we can apply the same thing to a data set which is already there in this scikit-learn, right? We are going to learn some package called scikit-learn, I will tell you. And the last half an hour we will be talking about logistic regression. This is how I have planned the session. So now it's 11:36. So let me move forward. Right. So we need this NumPy package, right? So which we learned yesterday. So which is used for numerical computation. Now we also need something from Matplotlib for performing the data visualization, right? So you can never ever type the entire things. Suggestions will come. You just choose that, right? So don't go for the entire things. Now the next thing is here we need to have a library called sklearn, right? So sklearn is a short form for, or the alternative name for, you can say, scikit-learn, right? You call the scikit-learn library. So this is a package for machine learning. So Python package for machine learning, right? I put that ML short form. So this is a wonderful package. You can see when you go to scikit-learn, you can see all the algorithms are implemented for you. Whether it is linear regression, whether it is logistic regression, whether it is support vector machine, whether it is KNN, Bayes, whatever you have learned so far, whether it is decision tree, all the things are implemented for you. Right? What you need to do is you just need to invoke those functions, right, or those libraries which are already available for you. Okay, so for example, when you talk about regression, so these are the types of machine learning problems which you have been learning from day one onwards, right? So this is actually classification, this is regression, which you already know, right? When you have a continuous value as output, right? We're going to predict a continuous value output attribute. So when you have a categorical value as output, we go for classification, and these two things comes under which type of learning? Please respond in the chat window. This classification and regression comes under which type of learning, please? I'm just asking your, testing your knowledge which you have gained so far for the past 3. Yeah, exactly. It is supervised learning, right? Why? Because you will be presenting the labeled data, right? So labeled data will be present for the training, and the testing will be predicting that, right? And when it comes to clustering, it's a form of unsupervised learning, right? The applications, you can apply this in customer segmentation, for example. So group of customers with the similar kind of liking. Let's say I like horror movies, right? So you can, one of you, let's say Mr. Shyam Kumar also like horror movies. So you can group both of us in one category. You can have a cluster, right? And the other people who actually I don't like horror movie, but for the sake of example, I'm telling. And other people who are also like horror movies, you can have them in our cluster, right? So when you release a horror movie, right, what you can do is you can introduce that to this cluster, right? So that's another advantage of having recommendation kind of things, which you see in so many places like Netflix, in Amazon Prime and all the places, right? You can see all the customer segmentation is a wonderful example for clustering. And again, you will be seeing about clustering in the afternoon. I don't wish to talk much about clustering. It's a kind of unsupervised learning. Remember that you won't be having an output here. That's the difference, right? So you need to understand the similar properties from the input itself. Like I mentioned, Mr. Sham Kumar and myself, we both like horror movies. Means, yeah, you are trying to find out that similarity from input. That's all about clustering. I don't wish to talk much about that. Now, there is another wonderful concept called dimensionality reduction, which you can use for reducing the number of random variables or features, you can say, right? So, for better visualization, you can use this dimensionality reduction. And again, model selection, you can do cross-validation. We will be tasting a bit of cross-validation if there is time today itself. Cross-validation and choosing parameters. I already mentioned to you there are model parameters and hyperparameters, right? So choosing parameters here means there are hyperparameters. So what are the parameters that you are choosing, right? So all those things you can do with the help of sklearn. Again, you can perform pre-processing like feature extraction, normalization, all those things you can do with the help of this sklearn. This is a built-in library for you. When you click on this classification, you can see all the algorithms that you have learned so far. It's already available for you, right? Loessy regression, you can click on Loessy regression. So it will give you a clear picture how to do Loessy regression, the equations, everything. The equation which we learned yesterday, the same thing only, but the notation might be different. The same equation which we learned yesterday, the notation might be different, right? Hope you can understand that. The cross entropy, or you call it as the categorical cross entropy and the binary cross entropy and all this, right? So leave it. Now come back to our practical session. I just gave you an overview what all things are there in sklearn, right? So here we need to have kind of split up, right? So that means we need to have a training test split up, right? So you can import all those libraries from sklearn. So how you need to do is you can put sklearn, you can see that, right? So from sklearn dot, right, we need to talk about the training test data, right? Training data and testing data split up, right? So for that there is some kind of library available. We will import that first. So that is available inside this particular module called model_selection. Okay, so that particular function, that is train test split up function, is available in which module? Model_selection. And that module is present inside which package? sklearn. So that's the reason we are putting from sklearn dot model_selection. So that will get selected for you, right? So now you can go for the train test splitter, right? So this is going to be your function, right? So you are importing that. So if you import this, if you call this function with some arguments, you have to specify some arguments I will be telling you, so that the data will be splitted as training and testing data, right? So data will be splitted as training and testing data. So for that you have imported this, okay, for splitting training and testing data. You will understand this when you actually implement this, when you actually invoke this function, okay? You mentioned that we need to have a training data as well as testing data, right? So how will you split from your data set itself? How will you split it? How much percentage is going to be your training data? How much percentage is going to be your testing data? How will you split that? For that, you can make use of this function. That's all you need to understand now. Later on, it will be clear, okay, when you do things. Now, I am going to artificially create some, data here for you. Artificially, I am going to create. So, artificially creating some random samples I am going to create. Okay. So, creating a random samples. How will you do that? Right. So, for that, you can make use of a function in NumPy. Yesterday, some of you asked me, why do you learn NumPy, right? There are a lot of advantages. Like you can create artificial data. Now, array concept, remember, array concept is extremely important. The scikit-learn, the scikit-learn library, you have a lot of functions, but those functions which are used for machine learning, it will accept only NumPy arrays or pandas data frame. Once again, I repeat, the functions available in scikit-learn, it will accept only NumPy arrays or pandas data frames. You cannot have any other types of data, right? We will check it out. You will see all the, what's the difference between training and testing data? Very basic question. Training data means you are teaching the model with the training data. Like we are talking about supervised learning, right? You already know, I am teaching you something, right? So I am giving you the output also. I am showing the output. For example, suppose I have two kids, one is 4-year-old and one is 1.5-year-old, right? So 4-year-old, now I try to teach her, but it is very difficult. But still, I try to show that the name, the picture of a dog, and I teach her this is a dog, right? And next I will show her a picture of a cat, and I teach her this is a cat. Okay. And next time, it's very difficult to teach her color. Why? Because she already understood some of the colors. So when I say pink, she will say that no, it's violet. Because from the TV shows, she already understood something, right? And she argues with me. I cannot even teach. The most difficult thing is that teaching our own kids, very difficult, right? So like that, I will show her. No, I am teaching her. Supervised learning. I am telling the output. Now I show her the picture of a dog. I teach her dog, right? I am telling the output also. That's why you say labeled data. You call it as labeled data, right? And during the training phase, you feed that input as well as labeled data. So training means you give input along with input plus labeled data. And testing means you only give input. It will be more clear when you do this example. Please wait. Okay. So you are giving only input, and you will ask. Next time when the examination comes, I will ask her and I will show the picture of a dog and I will ask her, what is it? Is it the dog? Is it a cat? Anything else? And it is her duty to tell it correctly. She may or may not, right? That's the same intelligence we are using. We are trying to model with the help of this machine learning algorithms, right? So you only present input data. So what is going to be the output? That is the question. What is your output? How have you understood this? Yeah. No problem. You can ask me any doubts. I don't mind, because after all, we are here to learn something, right? So whatever your doubts you can ask. But let me continue with the flow of this session. So towards the end, we can actually ask this kind of basic doubts. Now, basic doubts should be cleared, then there is advanced doubts you can ask towards the end of this class. Okay. Why? Because otherwise I have to divert to that advanced topic. Then the continuity of the class will be lost. Okay. So those, especially yesterday some of you have asked how to add layers into CNN. That comes on today. Tomorrow, right? So when you ask me that topic yesterday, how can I jump into that, right? Please wait. So whatever questions you have related with this, you can ask now. Now, so in order to explain that the random number generation capability of NumPy, I am going to show you some examples, right? So let me put it as np.random.rand. So np.random is a kind of function, or you can say it's a module, right? Random is a module, and inside random you have something called rand, right? You have something called rand. You can see that. That is actually, yeah, it's a method, you can say. So that rand, if you want to generate random numbers, right? Let's say you need to generate 10,1. This means that you have 10. You will be having 10 raw vectors, right? And 1 column vector. What is the meaning of this? Yeah, 10 raw vectors and 1 column vector. Yesterday I mentioned about a vector, right? So it simply will have 10 rows and 1 column, right? Let's see how it generates that. And remember, these are random values between 0 and 1. Purpose of taking random samples, I told you, I'll be explaining this linear regression with artificially created data first. Then I'll go to a practical data set. I have already mentioned that, right? So for creating that artificial data, we go for this random thing. Yeah, you can see that. See, this belongs to the first row, second row, third row, and finally you have how many? 10 rows. That's the reason 10 by 1, right? And you can go for check. You can check the shape of this also. You can assign this to some variable and you can check the shape. It will show 10, 1, right? 1 column vector and 10 row vector, right? So this is how. The next time when I do the same thing, you may not get the same random sample. You can check that. So next time when I try to do this, np.random.rand, right? What happens? See, again, let's have 10,1, right? So let's see what happens. You can see that the data is changed, right? See the first value here. The first value is going to be 0.247, right? But you can test it with here. It is going to be 0.39. That's the reason why we say it as a random sample. I hope you understood, right? Each time it changes. Between 0 and 1 changes. Okay. But you can put something, right? We can put something like this. You will come across many machine learning algorithm. You will come across that. You have something called np.random. There is something called seed, right? np.random.seed. You can put an arbitrary number here, any number as per your wish. I wish to give 13, that's a lucky number, right? So that's a number which I not lucky, or that's a number which I like, right? Why? Because many people say that it's unlucky, right? So I like those fellows who are unlucky, right? Because, they can at least tell that they are unlucky, isn't it? They can at least blame it that they don't have the luck. So you can see that what I have done here is I have put a random seed. Seed means any state, we call it as a random state. This 13 is a random state. Okay. So I just put that as 13. You can give any number. Now you can see the values 0.777. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is I just copy the same thing. And I'm going to put this in this cell, the second cell. Don't worry, I will come to machine learning part. Don't worry, these are the most fundamental things you require. Now what happens? You can see that the same set of samples, random samples has been generated, right? The same set of random samples have been generated. Can you observe it? This means that this ensures what? Reproducibility. I have attended many training programs and all, but people will not explain, especially industry people, right? I don't blame them. When they take, I don't ask them doubts. Why? Because I can understand their constraint. They need to do. They don't know how to understand the basics at all. They need to put all those things and apply it to a problem and generate something and get it done for their team managers. Otherwise, they will scold them. Right? They don't have time to learn the basics. So, in many of their training programs, they will skip this part. Right? What it indicates that in order to, I already shared the link. Could you please, some of you please share the link so that she can use it. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sudevan. Now, in order to ensure that reproducibility, use that seed, and you are initializing with a random state. Now, you can give any number. It is not necessary that you should give 13. You can give 25. You can give 123. Anything you can give. But all the time when you give the same seed, see the reproducibility, you can see that the same set of random numbers are generated. It is extremely useful when you select samples from your training data. Extremely useful for selecting samples from your training data. So each time when you train, you will ensure that the same set of training samples are being taken. Right? Otherwise, what happens? It will randomly select it. Each time different set of samples will be taken. So in order to ensure the reproducibility, you can use it. I hope you understood this. Have you understood this so far? Shall I move forward? Please respond in the chat window. Please. Yes. Why put the number after seed as a row size is still? Yeah, row size is not at all mandatory. You can put something like this. np.random.rand. Let's say you want something, some data, right? You can call this np.random.rand. What will happen? You generate one data, right? So that row size and column size is for generating 10 rows and 1 column. I already mentioned that, right? Yeah, you can give it like this also, no problem. Okay. Number after seed denotes a random state. I think I already mentioned that. The number after, you need to put that number. Then only it will understand it is the same random state. So if you put 13 there and if you put 25 there, what happens? These are going to be two things, right? These are not going to be same. The second one, this is entirely different. Now here you are setting the random state in seed. So here you put numloc is log here. Yeah. Here you put 25, right? What happens? You can see that It is a different set of samples, right? It starts from 0.87, but in your earlier case, when you have a random state 13, it starts from 0.77, right? So you know to have the reproducibility, ensure that same thing has been repeated again and again and again. You can use it 13. I hope I have answered your doubt, right? Yeah. Thank you. So many people are not responding. I don't know. People like Ms. Revati and all those people who used to respond very actively till yesterday session, I could not see, but I could see a lot of comments from others, new set of energetic faculty members, right? What happened to others who already responded yesterday? I could not see much, right? Yeah. I hope you people are getting right. Fine. Thank you. This is a habit of me. I remember names, right? Especially teaching, students. I have a habit of remembering their names, and this is a wonderful thing which I learned from many of the senior teachers. When we remember the names of students, what happens is they will get a feel that they are being noticed, right? So that's a wonderful thing to do. Does send means seed means that only n random numbers are there? No. It's a random state only. I told you, right? It's a random state. You are putting a number, simply a number. So that number has to be same if you have to generate the same set of random numbers. That's all. Nothing else. We are getting continue. Yeah, you are getting. Thank you so much. So let me continue. You understood that reference, right? Very well. Now I am going to generate a random artificial data that is going to be x is equal to let's say I need that mx plus c, right? That is the thing. So I need that x part, that is the right hand side. So let us have that numbers. So let me multiply this with number 10, right? And I just multiply it with your random dot rand np dot random dot rand. Yes. Okay, I need 10 samples, so that's why I'm putting 10. Okay, so 10 rows and 1 column. So what I have done is I have multiplied that with 10. That's all, nothing else, right? So you can even multiply by 20 or 30 or there is no significance. I just have used a constant, right? That's just like, for example, you put that equation, right? 3, 10x. This is what's same as 10x, right? 10x, right? So, or you can put 2x, 3x, whatever it is. There is no much significance. I have just multiplied that number in order to get artificially generated data. That's all. Now you got the this is going to be your input x, right? This x is going to be your input. Okay, you have only one feature, one input feature here. That is going to be your x, right? So you can print the shape of that. You can print the shape of that, right? And you will come to know that you have. We already set the shape. You already know that, right? It is going to be 10, 1. That means 10 rows and 1 column, right? You have 10 samples. You can say 10 samples, right? 10 rows. Okay, this indicates that you have 10 samples. Now the concept will be more clear when I do this example. Or you can say 10 rows. Fine. Great, right? So now we are going to find out that y thing, right? So yesterday we learned y is equal to mx plus c, right? So let us have that y is equal to mx plus c. Let us have y is equal to that equation. I'm just going to modify 4x plus 3. No issue, right? You can take anything like plus 13 or plus whatever it is you can take. I'm going to take y is equal to 4x plus 3. No issues, right? So now this is y is going to be what? Dash. Y is going to be? Hello? Somebody asked me, you can generate with the help of numbers or it will be clear. That's the same thing what I am doing. What is your y actually? Y is going to be? Hello? Y is going to be? Please tell me. It is going to be your output, right? So you got the input here. You have 10 samples, right? You have 10 samples as input. You put as input, and you got the output, right? And how many will be there? How many outputs will be there? Come on, tell me. How many outputs will be there? Yeah, exactly. It is going to be y is going to be the dependent variable, not the independent. Sorry, x is your independent variable. Yeah, y is the dependent output. Yeah, it is going to be 10, right? So the shape is going to be 10. We can examine that. So y dot shape right? Y dot shape, we can examine. It is going to be, so shape is not a function, it is an attribute. You can see that it is going to be 10, 1, right? You can even check that Y value, right? So you have X value and Y value. You artificially generated your input and Y, right? So this can be used for demonstrating your students, right? Because then only they will understand what exactly is machine learning, right? The basics, they will get it very quickly if you understand like this. Please share the collab link. Some of you, please do that. Right. Yeah, now we just imported a function already for you, right? I have told you that at the time of usage, I will explain more. Now you have your input data, right? So many have asked me what is training data and what is testing data. Now I am going to split this. Out of this 10 samples, I am going to take, let's say 50 samples, I am going to take it as training. That is not a good practice. Normally you will take 70 or 80% for training, but I am going to take 50, right? 50% of the data for training. I told you this is not a good practice, but this is for example purpose only. Normally you will take 70 or 75 or 80 when you have a lot of data. Now we have only 10 samples, right? So that's the reason I am taking only 50% of data. Okay. Now there you have we are going to have 50% training data and remaining testing data. That means remaining 50% is going to be your testing data. Now let's see. What I do here is I just call the function called train. You already import the function. Do you remember that? It's already there for you. It shows a train test data, right? What are the things you pass for that? See, you pass your input, your output. You only have capital X as your input, right? Small y as your output, and one more argument is extremely important. What is going to be that? It is going to be your test underscore size. Okay. So when you scroll down this, you will get to know what are the things you can pass. See that, right? See that the function definition will come to know what are the things you can pass. This will come across. You will get all those things through experience only. You can straight away say that. Oh, how will you know that test argument, test underscore size is argument? Yeah, because I am doing this. I am dealing with this, right? Those who are doing it for the first time, seeing it for the first time, you may not understand why you have given this x, y, all these arguments. You can go to that function definition. You will come to understand, right? So that's available there in sklearn. You simply search in Google sklearn space train underscore test underscore splitter. So you will come to this particular page, right? This is official documentation page of sklearn. From here, you can understand all those things. Why I have given. So test size is equal to test underscore size is equal to 0.5 means you are having 50% for testing data and the remaining 50% for training data. And we need to assign this to some variables, right? So we need to assign what are variables you use. So you should choose variables in a way that always choose variables so that people will understand, right? So this will return 4 things. This returns 4 values, right? What are going to be your 4 values? The first thing will be your training data. That I am going to represent as a variable called x underscore train. And next is going to be your testing data. That I am going to represent with a variable called x underscore test. Right? Next is going to be your training output. It will put as y underscore train. And next is going to be your testing output. It will put as y underscore test. So this returns 4 values in this order. Right? The training input, testing input, training output, and the testing output. I have named 4 variables in order to represent that. Have you understood this? Yes or no? In this bit, it will divide by itself. Yeah, it will divide and it will return it for you. Okay, fine. So now let me run this so that it will perform the training test. Now you can check the shape of your input training vector. How will you check that? See, let me put a print statement only for your understanding purpose, right? So the shape of training input vector, right? It is going to be dash. Where it is present? Come on, tell me in the chat window. Please put it in the chat window. What I have to put here? In order to get the shape of this training vector, what I have to put there? Exactly x underscore capital X underscore train dot shape. Shape. Remember, shape is not a method. It is an attribute. It is not a method. Okay? Yeah. Thanks a lot for your wonderful response. You can see that the shape of the training vector is going to be 5, 1. Why? Because you have selected 0.5. Now that I'm going to change this 0.5 to, let's say, test size is going to be 0.3. That means, what will be the shape of the training input vector? Come on, tell me. What will be? Yeah, please slow. Yeah, of course. Now, since I have to talk a lot of things, that's why I'm speeding up a bit of things. Yeah, I think you can follow up. Otherwise, you can tell me to slow down a bit. Yeah. Now, what will be the shape? No, I don't agree with Miss Neha. I don't agree with Miss Arunav. Any other answers? Any other answers? I don't agree with Mr. Anjit. No. I will slow down. What I have done here is I just changed the test size to test underscore size to 0.3. Exactly. What Miss Sneha said is true. Why? Because it is the test data size. So test data size is 30%. That means the training data size will be how much? 70. So it will be 7,1. 70% of your current sample will be. No, I haven't run this. Let me run that. Yeah, I always told you whenever you make changes, you need to run that query. Now, have you understood this? Now you can ask me doubts. I'm a bit slowing down a bit and asking your queries, whether you have any queries or not. Sometimes due to net, some portion is missed. I cannot do. I can already the share is linked. The link is shared. I cannot actually repeat why, because we have to do a lot of stuff. Probably they will share the recording, so it will be clear for you. Right? Yeah, I told you. Train test split means what happens is it will split your training data, right? In fact, it will split your input data, that is X and Y. Your input and output is going to be your data, right? It will split into training and testing. So this is another argument, test underscore size. You put the value for the argument 0.3, so that what happens is 30% will be taken as the testing, and the remaining 70% will be taken as the training. So let me change this to 0.5 itself. I just done it for demonstration. Here we have only few set of data, so it is better to have 50% of testing data and training data. So what it returns is it returns 4 things: your training data, testing data input, right, and training output and testing output. That's all, right? Output of trained test data, trained test setup is always same. Yeah. There is another argument. What you have asked is a good question. If you want to have same set of samples always, there is another argument called random state. Right? You can see here, right? So you can put the random state there. So that will be having same set always. Okay. Nice to ask this question. So I thought not to confuse people, that's why I did not put this. So there is another argument called, you can say that random underscore state. So a number you can put, just like I have put 13 there now, you can put a number, so that always you will have same set of samples. Is it clear to you? Yeah. Why more weightage is given for training? There is no more weightage. When you have a lot of data, that is a normal convention. 70% to 80% you will use for training, because then only model will be able to predict. Otherwise, you will not be able to predict. So you can use a random state. I'm not demonstrating that right now, so that you can have same set of samples. I think have you understood this? Yeah. Now let me move forward. Thanks a lot for asking the doubts. Thanks a lot for the nice and wonderful interactions. I like it really. So now similarly you can check for the training testing data sheet, right? Same thing. You can print it. That you can do it by yourself. I don't want to mention it again, right? Now, what was your function actually? Your function was something like you need to have that. We call that you need to have that bias, right? Hope you remember it. What was the function yesterday? Have you remember? So your function was something like hypothesis function, right? Do you remember your hypothesis function? What was it? It is something like h of x is equal to, come on, tell me, equal to theta 0 plus theta 1, right, into x. Do you remember that? Here we have, in place of x, we have training data. Right? Yes. Now, this theta 0, what is the theta 0? I have already told you, theta 0, significance of theta 0 is that it is called bias. It is only added to generalize the model. Theta 0 is added to, it is a bias. It is added to generalize the model. Okay. Yeah, here we have only one feature vector. Let's say I have stopped with this. Here we have only one feature vector. When you have n number of feature vectors, what you have said is correct. Yes, theta 0 plus theta 1x. Now we are going to realize everything. Whatever you have learned yesterday, we are going to realize. Now the concept will be thorough. Okay. Now let's say this explain what we are going to do. We are going to make changes to this hypothesis function, right? So we need to have some change for this hypothesis. So what I am going to do is I just change my training data according to that. It will fit this hypothesis function. I'm going to find this hypothesis function, right? So I just assign that to x train itself. So x underscore train is equal to, before that we need to have that bias, right? So now tell me, what is the coefficient of this theta 0? Come on. What is the coefficient of theta 0? Exactly, 1, right? It is going to be 1. Coefficient is equal to 1. Great. Right? So, your x vector now has only what? Now your x vector has got only that this component. Which component? That x underscore train only. Isn't it? Right? It does not have that coefficient 1. You need to append that. You need to concatenate that. I hope you understood, right? So in order to have this hypothesis, right, you need to have the x vector tuned in such a way that it should have the coefficient 1 along with the x prime, right? So that's what we are going to do now. How will you do? See, when you there is a function available in NumPy called once np.once. So for example, if you put np.once of 10, 1, what will happen is it will generate. Yeah, it will generate 10 ones. You can see that, right? 10 rows, 10 samples. You can see 10 samples, 10 rows, and 1 column of 1. 1 point indicates that it is a floating point 1.0, right? 1.0. Have you understood? By default, the data type will be float. Yes. So why we are doing this? We need to incorporate that coefficient, okay? The coefficient of theta 0. That should be there in our hypothesis function, right? We need to incorporate that. For that, we are going to do this. Okay? Now, let us generate that. Okay, let us generate that. How will you now modify your testing and training input? Yeah, your training input is equal to, for concatenating, you have something in NumPy called concatenate. Yeah, you have a function called concatenate. Inside that, you pass your, what are things you need to concatenate? You need to pass your np.once, right? You need to pass your np.once. Yes. What should be the shape of that? The shape should be, yeah, it should be 5, 1. So inside that parenthesis, I am giving it 5, 1, right? The shape should be 5, 1, and then what is the other thing you need? You need to have what all things you are trying to concatenate. What is the other thing? The x train, isn't it? We are going to concatenate that 1 and x train so that it will look like something like how will you call it? That 1 will be concatenated. You will see that. You will realize it. Okay. Along which axis you have to concatenate? You have to concatenate along which axis? You have to concatenate along, so horizontally you need to concatenate, right? So horizontally you need to concatenate. That means the axis should be 1. Okay, you will understand it when you print it. Similarly, you need to modify your testing data. You should concatenate, but concatenate will not convert to alphanumeric. No. It will return array only. You will realize it. Please wait. Okay. Again, you try to concatenate np.once, right? So what are the things you need? Your 5, 1, right? Why? Because we are having 50% as the training data. That's why we are putting that. Okay. Then comma. What is the thing? You need to have your testing data. Okay. Then again, along with the axis 1, you need to concatenate. So what I have done is I have concatenated. We need to have the hypothesis equation. For that the training vector needs to be modified, right? So now you have only what? You have only this part, the x train part, right? So that 1, which is the coefficient of theta 0, that needs to be concatenated. So for that you are doing this. Okay. So now you will understand. Now you can print out that whether it is alphanumeric or not. You can print out that. You will see that. Okay, we'll check it. Now you can see now it has been concatenated. You can see horizontally, right? Horizontal concatenation. After this, we are concatenating next one, right? Or we call it as horizontal stacking, right? There is two concepts called vertical stacking and horizontal stacking. I think you can understand that. Let me take a Jamboard for you. Visualization kind of things and mathematics never explain things in a theoretical way. I will show you. Let me take a Jamboard for you. Let me take this. Same thing you can do in Pandas also. I told you Pandas has got all the capabilities of NumPy. Yeah, horizontal concatenation means you have a data, right? It's going to be your data. So you have another data with you. So horizontal means you are stacking that both like this. Horizontally you are stacking. Okay. And vertically means what you do? You have one data available here, and you have the second data. You will do vertically. You will stack it. For axis is equal to 1 means you are doing this horizontal stacking. Okay. Now you can see the data, right? Okay. So this is going to be the coefficient of this 1 is going to be the coefficient of. Come on, tell me. This is your x0. Remember, this is your x0, right? The coefficient of theta 0, right? X0 is a coefficient of theta 0. Yesterday I mentioned that it's going to be 1. And what about this? This is going to be your x train, right? The coefficient of, is going to be that coefficient of theta 1. Hope you understood now. Great. Now let us move forward. So if you have any kind of doubts now, clear now itself. Now itself you should clear it. Okay. Now we are going to do this in two ways. One way is to find out the theta values. Now what is our aim? We need to fit a straight line to this data, right? Input data, isn't it? That is what linear regression is all about. So in order to fit a straight line, what do you need? You need to estimate the model parameters. Estimate the model parameter. That means theta 0 and theta 1 value you need to estimate. Right? You need to estimate the model parameters. Now, estimating model parameter means you need to find out the best values for the theta, right? Theta 0 and theta 1. What all methods we can use? Come on, tell me. Now it's a time for attendance. All the participants, once again, mark your forenoon session attendance in the new link provided in the link. I will give you a quick break of 4 minutes. You can do that. Right now it's 12:17. I will resume at 12:21. Please do that so that I will post it. Thank you. Yeah, you asked me about horizontal axis and vertical axis. Yeah, I will come to that. Somebody asked me what is the equation, can you show it? I think that Jamboard which I have explained yesterday, that is already available there. So in that I have already explained all the equation. And you could see the same equation here also, the hypothesis function, right? The same thing. You can see it here. So, you know. Okay. This is what you had on this equation. I think it is there in this Jamboard. What all things we explained yesterday. Yeah, the same equation, theta 0 plus theta 1x. Same thing. I have some doubts on feature selection by fuzzy rough method coding. So can you give me your communication mail or WhatsApp to get? Yeah, to be frank, I don't know that, right? And you can give, I can give you the mail ID. I haven't dealt with that, right? Yeah, coding part is what you means. I may be able to help you, but theory of that I haven't done with that. I don't know much about that. I think my LinkedIn profile, I think I have already mailed you. It's already there. I'll mail you towards the end of the session. I will share the my LinkedIn profile. Yeah, I'll come to about vertical axis. I also asked for same. Thank you. What? Please. Yeah, sure. I will be sharing that towards the end of the session. Now we'll come to vertical axis and horizontal axis. Yeah, that's another doubt. This is your one data which is shown in the red, right? This can be your X train. So let us put this as X train. Or let's say this is your ones, right? The coefficient that is going to be your X0. Your X0 vector is this. X0 vector. Vector means how many components are there? In this example, 10 components, right? Your X0 is this. So do you know active shape model and the AM? No. See, you will come across all the advanced topics towards the end of the session. Please wait. Please wait. Now this is going to be your X1, right? Or right now you have only one component, that is X, right? This is going to be X1. In this case, what is your X0? This is what you are doing a vertical stacking. Right now you are doing a vertical stacking. Vertically you are stacking things, right? And here when you do vertically stack, we need to put the axis as 0. But when you here, what we need here is horizontal stacking, then the axis needs to be 1. Hope it is clear to you. Okay. So who asked it? Miss Manju. Yeah. I hope you got it. Please respond, Miss Manju. Yeah. So now I think I can resume, isn't it? So this is vertical stack. This is horizontal stacking, which you can see there. Where I have placed my cursor, right? So this is what we need now. So you have to put. You haven't understood. Yeah. You have to put axis is equal to 1 here. For performing this, horizontally you are stacking it. Horizontally you are stacking it. That is the meaning of this. Horizontally you are stacking it. But the other one at the bottom side, vertically you are stacking. See, you have X0 there, and you are trying to stack X1 vertically after X0. Vertically after X0. Hope it is clear now. This is going. In this case, axis is going to be 1. Is it clear now? Yes, thank you. I don't mind, I can explain 1,000 times, but the problem is that we will not be able to finish the topics as scheduled, right? So all the doubts you can ask me. If it is related with the topic which you are currently discussing, you can straight away you can ask. But advanced kind of things like many people are asking here, that we will discuss it towards the end. This is on the confused participants, and the intent of this workshop is, just to stick on with the schedule. Then we will talk about the advanced things, right? And now we try to estimate the model parameters, right? So model parameters, estimating model parameters, what are the methods available? Now my question is, what are the methods you have learned to find out the theta value, best theta values? Tell me, to find out the best theta values, what are the methods available? Come on, optimization. You need to minimize what? One method is, you need to minimize the mean square error. So one method available is for optimization. What is the one algorithm which we have learned yesterday? Come on. Gradient descent, right? So one method is gradient descent. Another method is, second method is We will learn one more normal equation. Exactly. Great. So we can go for normal equation method. Right? Here I will try to explain the normal equation. Why? Because you have only limited number of features. You have only one feature, right? So you can go for this normal equation. Why? Because for one feature you should not stochastic gradient descent that is actually a variant of gradient descent. Probably I will explain it tomorrow while explaining the neural network. I will explain it. So stochastic means randomly you do, right? You take random set of samples and perform the gradient descent. That is what stochastic is all about. There is other two concepts. I'll come to that based on mixed things. Yeah. Normalization. Yeah, normal equation, not normalization. Normalization is different again. So you have normal equation. Now, using normal equation, you can find out the best value for theta. Now I'm going to find it out. Theta is equal to. Okay. So what is the equation? Do you remember the equation which we talked yesterday? I don't wish to write it again. It's already there in this Jamboard. Let me take that. The equation which we used yesterday.
X power t.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Same. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, same thing. I think the equation is there somewhere. I think it was there in the slide only, not in this. Yeah, it is there in the slide only.
X power t into x. 4 power minus 1 into x power t into y.
Yes, great. Thank you. So I will take a slide for you, right? It's already there in the slide. So those who are not aware, you can see it's there in the material which I have already shared yesterday. You didn't get the PPT. I don't know whether I have shared. If not, I will share today. No problem. I think I have shared yesterday. I don't know whether. Yeah, this is the equation, right? Which we talk about the normal equation method. We are going to implement this with the help of NumPy. Okay? You can have a quick view on this equation. So let me copy this and paste it in your Jupyter notebook. We have a text box so that you can have a view of that, right? So the normal equation method. This is the reason why we called us. Yeah. This is the reason we called us notebook, right? You can put what all things you can put it, right? Just like how you write it in a notebook, right? You can put that. Copying is not, pasting is not working. I think I need to import it, right? I have to download and upload the thing. That's the only way, right? So what you can do here is you can download this image. Download it to. I think that will take time. I think you can remember this equation, right? Yeah, I think you can switch in between the windows. It will take time. So you can even put images also, right? In this. That's what I wanted to tell you. Okay. Okay, fine. So you can meanwhile you can write a notebook covering all the lab classes and it will be great. Yeah, if I have time, I will do it. Then now this is the equation we are trying to implement that. Okay, so you need to find out that dot product. See, this is what we are finding out the dot product of x transpose and x. This means that we are finding the dot product of x transpose and x, right? And that is again dot producted with x transpose, which is again dot producted with y. Okay. So you need to find out this term x transpose dot y. You need to find out this term x transpose dot x. Then take the inverse of that. Then take a dot product. This is what you are doing. Okay. So for taking dot product, already you have a function available in NumPy called dot, right? Dot. And this dot product involved. That means this is one term which you can see here. This is your first term. right? And x transpose dot y is your second term. So you are going to take dot product of these two terms, and when you come to the first term again, you need to take dot product. But before that, you need to take inverse also, right? After taking dot product, you need to put inverse also. So let us call that function first. Inside this, so let me call inverse is available inside lineage module. I told you yesterday we talked about linear algebra module. The inverse function is available inside lineage. So we take inverse of that. Inside that, right, you go for next dot product, right? So np dot, what should be the thing? Yeah, now you take the transpose first, right? You take the transpose, you can go here. So inverse we called inverse. Inside that you need to take the dot product of what? X transpose t. Now you need to take the transpose of x, right? So you should take transpose of x. So for that you need to put np dot, right? Dot product of np dot. There is something called transpose available. Yeah, these are all functions available in NumPy. You need to call it using np, right? And which is the transpose you need to take? You take the transpose of the training vector, right? Training vector. So you put that, your x corresponds to your training vector, right? And then you need to multiply that, or take the dot product, not multiply, take the dot product of that with your x prime according to the equation. So if you finish that first part, okay? You finish that first part. Is that clear? This is going to be the first term. This much. This much. You compare the equation. Inverse of x transpose dot x. So you find np dot. You write np dot inverse first. So we have written np dot. See, inverse is available in another module called lineage. So np dot lineage dot inverse. Inside that, now the second term, right? Now the second term, you need to find out the dot product of x transpose as an x. That's why we put np dot. You can see that np dot here, right? So now you come to the next thing, that is you need to take the transpose of x, right? So that's what you can see, the transpose of x. Then with x transpose you need to take dot product with x, right? So that's the reason why you can see that dot product of x taken transpose, right? Then again you take the dot product of that, the transpose of x, dot product with x. That's what you can see up to here. Then you take the inverse of that. Right? Then now we see the second term. You look into the second term. What is second term? X transpose dot y. Right? Yeah, give it. X transpose dot y will be, again you need to take the dot product. X np dot. Right? Inside that, what are the things? You need to take the transpose, right? So np dot transpose. Right? Never type the entire thing. Suggestion will come. You just choose that. If you type the entire thing, there is a chance that you will get error. Right? So you need to take the transpose of x prime again. Right? So with that, you need to take dot product with what? Take the dot product with your y prime. Right? Take dot product with your y prime. So we have implemented the normal equation. Alright. We have implemented the normal equation. Just one line. Now we can print out the theta values, the best value for a theta. You can print it out. You know, these are the theta 0 and theta 1 values. Have you understood it? Yeah, have you understood it? Yes or no? Now the same thing we are going to do. Let me plug in my laptop charger. The same thing we are going to do with the help of some scikit-learn libraries. See, everything you can do with the help of scikit-learn libraries easily. Easily you can do all the things with the help of scikit-learn libraries. Very easily. You don't have to worry about the mathematics behind it. But I wanted to tell you the mathematics, how you implement what all things we learned yesterday, how you implement it. Then you will understand better. That's the reason why I have told you the mathematics. Now, the same thing we are going to use a library called scikit-learn. The same thing we are going to implement it. Now, after discussing, I will go to the, I will do the things with the real data set. Okay, so this will be called as sklearn, right? Which is a package. You already mentioned it's a package for machine learning. Okay, it's already there for you. So here we need to have a linear regression, right? We are going to perform linear regression. So that is present inside a module called sklearn dot. sklearn dot. There are a couple of models available inside linear model, linear underscore model. From that, you need to import linear regression. There are a lot of models available there. You need to import linear regression there, right? Linear regression is what we are going to do. This is another kind of module. We are going to import that linear regression. Okay. Now execute that cell. Then only you will be able to use it. Once you have imported this linear regression module, which is present inside linear underscore model, once you have imported, what you need to do is you create an object. You call it as a model object. Just giving a variable name model. Okay. So since it is linear regression, you can also give something like LR. Whatever name you give, you put, you can. It is for understanding purpose only. Let's say model underscore LR. That is equal to, how will you create an object? Now, for creating an object, this is a syntax followed in Python. I tell you, suppose you have a class. How will you define a class in Python? Let's say you have a class named A. This is how you define a class in Python, right? Now, you write something inside that class. You have some methods and all. Okay. Now, how will you create an object for this function? How will you create an object for this function? So, syntax for creating an object in Python is, let's say A is an object for the class, right? This hash is for indicating that these are comments, right? So, A is equal to A followed by parenthesis. This is a syntax for creating object in Python of class A. Have you understood this syntax? So you have defined the class somewhere. Right? You can see that. Now, after defining that class, what you need to do? You need to create a object of that, and that's what you have done here. And the same thing you are doing here. See, you are creating the object of that linear regression module or class. Is that clear? Yes or no? This is for understanding only. I have mentioned this. Please say yes or no. You have created a model object and named since here you are creating a model object. Let's say the name of that object is A here, and it belongs to the class A. Right. So now we are going to do the same thing here. We have created an object, and using that object, how you execute that? Using that object, there are a lot of built-in methods available, right? You can do this, whatever things we found out, right? Finding out the theta value, best theta values. You can do it with the help of one function called fit. See, fit. When you call it, you need to pass two things, right? What are the things you need to pass? Your input data as well as, this is supervised learning, remember? You need to pass your input data as well as your output. Yeah, your output data, right? The label data. You need to pass these two things. But sir, is a linear regression good for class? No, never use a linear regression for a classification. This is right now we are talking about a continuous value, right? Your y is what your y contains? Your y contains continuous values only. Right? I think we have defined your y here somewhere. Yeah, you are asking this doubt after a long time, but you can ask any doubt. See, what about this? Are they categorical values or continuous values? Come on, tell me. Are they categorical or continuous? Come on, tell me. This is a problem with machine learning. When you learn more things, you will get a lot of doubts. But that doubt should arise, right? These are continuous values. These are continuous values. And now, yeah, you are doing a regression only, not classification, right? We will come to classification if you have time. So now we fitted that, right? So fitting means you will find out the best value for theta. That's it. Only one line. You have done it with one line. So these are the default values for that. You don't have to worry about it. It will take the default values. Only if you need, you can change those values. Right? Now, this is not over. We need to predict. Right? We need to predict. How will we do that? Let's define a variable called y predict. That is equal to. So what is our model object? Model. Prediction is done for unseen samples, right? Testing, right? For unseen samples, you are predicting it, right? So, yeah, you have model underscore LR dot. There is a method called predict. You can call that method predict. And inside that, you need to pass, you need to give your input data in the testing data only, nothing else. You should pass your testing data only, nothing else. Okay. And you can print that Y predict. So your output is being predicted. Now we are doing a supervised model. We are realizing the supervised model. Linear regression, you are realizing it. This is the output value for your X test. Right? And now we can go for real values also. You can print the real values. Let's say you can print the real values. It may be same, but still we can try that. The actual values are, where it is present? Come on, tell me. Where is actual values present? Output? Actual output? Yeah, no. Yeah, it's present in y underscore. Yeah, exactly. It is present in y underscore test. Yes. Not trained. No. The actual testing value I am talking about. Not trained. Okay. So it is present in y underscore test. Now the predicted values are available in. Where it is present? It is available in which variable? Y underscore predict. Exactly. Now, you need to know that. I think I have some error. The actual values. Yeah, I think what I have done is I did not use print here, right? The print here. Yeah. Yes, you can see that. It is almost same, right? Why? Because we have a limited number of data. So the model accuracy is 100%. That will not happen in real case, I tell you. These are artificially created data. So that's why the model is predicting, these are the actual values, and model predicts perfectly. And I tell you, you won't get a perfect model like this. Hope you understood, right? The entire machine learning process. Now, if this concept is clear, you can learn anything. Now we are going quickly to some problems using some data sets. And you can verify the theta 0 and theta 1 value. That also you can do. Yeah, that is available. See, model dot, the model object, right? The model underscore LR dot. How will you verify that? There is a thing called intercept. Okay, intercept underscore. This will give you the what? This will give you the theta 0. See the theta 0 you got, right? It is going to be 3. Right? And the theta 0 which you have printed using, you found out using that normal equation method, it is also 3. Have you understood it? It's the same. Right? Sorry, I cannot repeat the code right now. Towards the end, I think I can do it. What is the use of n jobs? Yeah, n jobs, great. N jobs means if you want to do the same thing in parallel, right? When you have, distribute the job to multiple processes. When you have parallel computing, you can put the number of cores you want here. You can put 2, 3, 4 like that, so that the job will be distributed to different processes. Thank you for asking it out. Repeating the code, you should have followed it. Otherwise, I will do it towards the end. Actually, it will take a lot of time. Especially those who are active here, it will take their own time. We will do that. Now, in here we haven't done now. We haven't done one thing. So that is. We haven't talked about how to measure the model performance, right? Measure model performance. So for regression problems, normally you use MSME means mean squared error. That is a loss function, right? So you use R2 score, right? We are talking about the accuracy or model performance. The other one is you can use that, but normally you use mean squared error for a loss function. You can use that also as accuracy, but here for regression problem, normally we use R2 score. Okay, will plotting be discussed afterwards? Yeah, I think we will discuss plotting soon. I will give you a real-time data set and I will try to teach you. That time I will show the plot also, will be clear. Okay. Yesterday we already had a plotting session. F1 score is used in case of classification, not regression. Okay. So how to get the R2 score? I don't go in details about the equation of the R2 score. That's assignment for you because I don't have time to discuss, right? That should have been discussed in the theory part, but with this limited number of time, I could not do that, right? So how will you find out the R2 score? You have a function called score, and you pass your testing data input and your actual output. You pass it. Okay, so you will get the score predicted. 1.0 means 100% accuracy, right? Fine. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to do linear regression on this was on artificially created data. So now we do the same thing on a data set. Okay. So once again, I will explain for the sake of those who were absent-minded. So what we have done is yesterday what we have learned, we tried to create the same data like y is equal to mx plus c, y is equal to 4x plus 3, right? And then using scikit-learn's built-in function train test split up, we have split up it into 50% training data and 50% testing data, right? Then afterwards, what we have done is we just appended that the coefficient of theta 0, which is going to be 1. We need that, which is called as bias. You need to do that, right? Why? Because then only you should go for normal equation method. You can realize it. See, for sklearn, you don't have to do this. Why? Because in sklearn, it will automatically the bias appending will be automatically done. You don't require this. But for normal equation method, we mentioned that, right? Why? Because we need that bias also. That's the reason why we have appended concatenated bias. Remember that for functions in sklearn, when you are using the fit method, you don't have to do anything, right? Even if you do, no problem, but bias will be done automatically. You don't have to do that. Y x test and y predicted. No, you don't pass that. You can check that in the function definition. You should pass that y underscore test. Why? Because you are comparing. Y predicted is already available there inside the algorithm, right? So this model object has got access to that value, y predicted, and you are comparing that with this. So this function accepts only x test and y test. You can check the function definition of score. You will understand that in the sklearn library. Okay. So good questions you are asking. Thanks a lot. Initially, when I started learning this, I too had the same doubts. Probably 2 years back, same doubts I had. Right? Now, we are going to explore some built-in data sets available in this sklearn. Why we are going to explore on built-in data sets? We can avoid the data pre-processing. When you are working with a Kaggle data, you need to do a lot of pre-processing before you build a machine learning model. Now, there are already data sets available inside this sklearn. Yeah, already data sets available with this sklearn. Using that, you can do this, so that the pre-processing has been already done for you. You simply have to build a machine learning model, right? So here we are going to do that. So now I will talk about the plotting also. If time is there, I will talk about that, right? Exploratory data analysis. That's what you asked, plotting. Who asked? Mr. Anand, you asked about the plotting. I will talk about that. Okay. Now, so we are going to do load one particular data set which is available already in sklearn, which is called Boston house pricing data set. So we are going to import that. Okay, we are going to import that. So let me import it as before that, we need to import the data set from sklearn. So what you need is you import the data set. Import from sklearn. Import from sklearn dot data sets. Right? You have something called data sets. Import. So which is the data set you need to load, right? So you can you have a lot of data sets available. Here, this is used for regression problem, Boston house price prediction problem, and this one is used for cancer prediction, which is a classification problem, and diabetes prediction problem. This is again classification problem. You find out the digit classification using this. I don't know about these files. I don't know. Iris is again used for classification problem, and similarly you have a lot of data sets. Wine is again used for classification problem. You have a lot of things, other things, right? So whatever I have known, I know I have explained. So you need to import this, right? So then only you can use that. Now I am going to load that data set. So for loading the built-in data set, what you need to do is you can put it inside load _ Boston, right? So that the dataset will be loaded for you. I made a mistake here. It should be, it should be something like this. Yeah, should use that parenthesis also, then only the dataset will be loaded. Now the dataset is loaded for you. You can examine the dataset. You can put that Boston.head so that you can examine it. Wait. Some error is there. Yeah, one head will not work here. You can simply print it so that you will see the data. Yeah, it is already a NumPy array. If you have a dataset loaded for you, then the head will work. This is already a NumPy array. You can see the feature names. These are the feature names. Fine. And we can convert this into data frame. This is not a data frame, right? This is NumPy array. So you can convert this into data frame. So let me convert this into a data frame. This is actually what? This is in a NumPy array. Okay. So I'm going to convert this into a data frame. How will you convert this into a data frame, right? So for that, you can put df_Boston, which is equal to, this is another variable name only, right? So which is equal to, let me define a data frame here, pd dot. So before talking about data frame, I need to talk a little bit more, right? So what all are the features of this data and all those things? I need to talk about that, right? Suppose you need to print out this. This is actually a kind of NumPy arrays. In fact, it is arranged as not NumPy arrays. It is arranged as a dictionary. It is arranged as a dictionary. Dictionary means it consists of key and values, right? Keys and values, isn't it? So it is arranged as a dictionary here. This data set. Okay. The values actually, these values are actually what? Values are actually NumPy arrays. These values are a NumPy arrays. We will realize it. We are going to realize it. Okay. So whatever I have mentioned, we are going to realize it. So what I have to do here is, we have the data set available called Boston dot, we put as keys, right? So let's see what happens. So the keys will be dashed. The keys will be the column names, or not the column names. What all things, including the column name, what all things are there in your present in your data set. It can be your data, right? It can be your target. That means your output. Data is your input part. This is your output part. Feature names correspond to the column names. Feature names correspond to the column names. And DESR names is the description of your data. You will get a slide kind of description. And you have the file name also. If you want to see the file name, it will display the file name also. These are the keys available. So you can print anything. Okay. So now let us print the type of the data. Now let us print the type of the data. Type of Boston dot data. Okay. So these are the keys. So you can we can see that the keys are also NumPy arrays, right? Sorry, not the keys. The data, right? The data which you have is what? The values. The values are actually NumPy arrays. You can see that's what exactly I have told you. The values are going to be NumPy arrays, which you have realized now. All the values. These are going to be the type NumPy arrays. Okay. So similarly, you can check other things. For example, you can check the output also. We have data indicates the input. See, this is the input, and you can check the output also. Let's type the, let's find out the type of the output. Let's say target. So this is going to be your output. Okay, let's see that. Output is also a NumPy array. I told you the scikit-learn will work. The scikit-learn functions will work only if you have the input and output all the things as NumPy arrays or pandas, data frame. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay, I hope you understood this concept. Similarly, you can get the shape of this. So how will you get the shape? Yeah, you can go for getting the shape. So you have the dataset name dot data. You can put dot and get the shape. Okay, we'll try to get the shape of it. You know that it consists of 506 rows or samples and 13 columns. Now 13 columns. Now you are curious enough, right? How will you understand the column names? How will you get the column names? How will you get the column names? Right? You can actually go for that. There is something called feature names available, right? You can go for that, right? Boston dot feature names. You can see that, right? So when you print that, you will come to know these are the 13 columns. Right? These are column names. If you want to understand what exactly the column name is, you need to have a little bit domain knowledge. You need to go and research about this. Then you come to know. Have you understood? Right? Then again, you can print the target names also. That means target name here it is actually continuous values, so you don't require that, right? So here there is no nothing like that. So no target names are available. Why? Because it is a data set used for prediction or regression, right? So data set used for regression. So you don't have the target names. Otherwise, if it was a data set used for classification, you will be having the target names. Okay. Now, these are the keys available. We have examined most of the keys. You can examine describe and file name also. You can do that, but we don't wish to do that now. Okay. Yeah. So far, is it clear to all of you? Shall I move forward? I ask your permission because it's almost 1 p.m. Can I take 15 more minutes? It's up to you. If you tell me to stop, then I will stop it. Because we are going to work on a real-time data set. Yeah, I'm going to continue. Right. So now, what I take here is I just want to take the, I just want to do the regression for you, right? So for that, so let me take a random input from here, right? So let's say I have something called, one of the column values from this data set, right? So let me put it as let's say x train, or let me put it as x input. Input I wish to do, right? Let's say this is equal to what is your data set actually? Boston, right? Boston of, let's say I need to take the 5th column values only, 5th one. I don't want anything else. 5th one only I need to take, right? Let me do that. Yeah, this is unhashable type. But why? Because it is not at all a data frame. So you need to have it. You need to put values there. Yeah, if it is a data frame, then it will work. You can see that the input has been taken, right? You can see that you can actually test the input. Oh, sorry, it's a text cell. So using this values, you need to take the input, right? Since you don't have a data frame. If you have a data frame, you can use that slicing so that we can take the value. So here it is not a data frame. That's why I have used that. So now we can test your input. Yeah, what happened is you got the entire values, right? Entire values. But you need to have only the input, right? So the entire values you put. You need to get the data, right? The input part is available inside this data. So that means now it is not the data. You got the entire values. You need to change this, right? How will you change it? You can change this to Boston dot data dot values. Wait, and the object has no attribute values. Yeah, you can directly call a Boston dot data. Now we'll be having the input data only. You can see that input data is only available. So output data is not available. It is available as a NumPy array. You can see that. Have you understood? Right? So you got the input data inside this x underscore input. Now, similarly, you can take the output, right? Output data. And how will you get the output? Y, you can put the Y as Boston dot, you have something called target. So then you will get the output data. So you got input data and output data. Okay. So let me convert this input data into a data frame. How can you do that? Now you have the input data available here, right? So I'm trying to convert this into a data frame. Okay. How can you do that? For that, you have, I think I haven't imported pandas there. If you import pandas, then only you can make use of the pandas function. Yeah, I haven't imported pandas. Let me import pandas at the top. Yeah, I think I have done that, right? Yes. Let me come down. Now I can use that pandas library, right? So what I try to do here is I create, here x underscore input is equal to, I just try to create a data frame out of this, right? How will I do that? Let me put as underscore data frame. Instead of input, we put as x underscore data frame, right? Is equal to, or we put as Boston underscore Boston space data frame. Better for better naming convention, I have used this. So we are converting it into a data frame. How to do that? PD dot. You have something called data frame available there. Data frame, data frame function available. You need to pass that data, right? What you will pass? Yeah. Dot and comma, you need to pass the columns, right? So what are the columns here? There's an attribute called argument called column. You need to pass the values for the columns. How will you get the column? You can get the column from the Boston dot feature names. So this will get you the column names. Now let us see, after doing this, let us see the data frame. Okay. Now we can see the, let us print it, Boston dot head. Now the head method will work. Now you can see that head method. Head method means it will get you the first 5 samples. You can see now. Great. Just use 10 GB out of 12 GB. I don't know, right? You can see that my RAM, now it's fine, right? Now you got it as the data frame you got, the output you got here in Y. Okay, so we are trying to find some visualization from this, some exploratory data analysis from this. Okay, so let me get only one column value from here. So let's say this indicates room. I tell you, I have a bit of domain knowledge on that. RM indicates room of this particular house. This feature indicates. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one, right? Fifth column. So let me try to explore that fifth column. Right. So let me put it as x underscore, let's say rooms is equal to. So I need to get all the values of the fifth column. That means if you need to get all the values, you can put a column there. So that all the raw values will be taken. So this corresponds to the raw index, right? And you need to get all the values of the fifth column, rather sixth column, but the index will be 5. Okay, so now I took that. Index 5 is out of bounds for axis 1 with size 1. Yeah, I think there is a big problem in that. Yeah. This is what actually I have done. What actually not x of what I should do. It should be Boston of data frame, right? Now you can see that again. Slice is an invalid key. I think you can do one thing. You can use lock, right? Then inside that, you put this fifth value. Let's see what happens. Again, none of them are in the index. Yeah, I think Boston underscore DF. Let me take Boston underscore DF off. So what is the column name actually? The column name is used to be RM, right? Let me take that. Yeah, now it works correctly, right? So what I have done here is I have taken that that column name, right? You can see that will be available inside this X underscore rooms. Okay, so now you try to do some analysis on this. So before that, let me plot a scatter. Let me have a scatter plot on that, so that we can perform some analysis on this, right? So analysis means we have the Y value available here, you have the Y value available here, and you have the X value available here. We are going to do some exploratory data analysis, right? That means we plot the relationship between the house value and the number of rooms. So before going to build a machine learning model, it is extremely important for you to understand the the relationship between each and everything, right? Okay. Otherwise, you will not if the relationship is not understood, each and every features you need to find out the relationship. If you don't understand the relationship, I tell you, you cannot build a better model, right? So here we can have a scatter plot. I think I haven't initialized matplotlib. Let me import that. Import matplotlib. Did I already done that? Imported that? I don't know. Let me check that. Yeah, it's already there. So I can use plt dot. Sorry that I am going a bit faster because I need to at least talk about this. That's why. So don't bother. So plt dot scatter. Right. So what are the things you need to pass? You need to pass that you already had the variable X underscore rooms and your output Y. Use a plt dot show. Yes, you can see that. Nice, right? What is the relationship between these two things? So in y-axis, what is actually there in x-axis? You can give that x label and y label. plt dot y label. So that is going to be what? Going to be your price of your house, right? I have a bit of domain knowledge. So this is going to be your house price, right? And what about this? The x label. So let me put the x label here. It can be, it should be house, there is R here. So X label can be your, yeah, I'm coming to that, directly proportional, I'll come to that. X label can be your, what? Your room size. Yeah, number, not size, number of rooms. Number of rooms, right? So you can give a title also if you want. Here I don't want that, right? Now we can see, now the plot looks better. You have on x-axis number of rooms and on y-axis you have house price. Now you can see that as the number of rooms increase, the price also increase, right? So you can see a linear relationship, isn't it? I know a couple of outliers are there. You don't mind the outliers, but as long as the number of rooms increase, you can see that the house price increase. Right? This is the relationship between those two attributes. Similarly, you can find the relationship between all the 13 attributes. You can plot it out. Right? Then only you should go for a model. Right? So building a machine learning model is easy. What do you need to do? You need to do, you can do this in 2 lines. You call that fit and, you just do this now. This is enough. You do that fitting, right? And that is available for this one line will do that, create the model for you. Whether it is support vector machine or whatever it is, this one line will do it for you. But understanding the relationship between all those things, we call it as exploring the data, right? Exploratory data analysis. do that exploratory data analysis first, then only you should go for model building. Now the time is too much. I could not finish the logistic regression part. I would have finished the linear regression. You can do the linear regression with this, right? What you can do, you simply create, you do with, you can go for a fitting, right? Create an object. Only with the 2 lines you can do that. That's left as assignment for you. Okay, do a linear regression on this problem and try to predict that line, right? So if you give me 5 more minutes, I can do that. But I don't know whether the coordinators will be angry enough. But right now it's already 1:10. Otherwise, I have session on tomorrow. At that time, I will try to do. This is an assignment for you. Let's have an assignment. Yeah, let's have an assignment. You try to predict with the house price, right? You try to predict. There are a lot of things to be discussed. Actually, we can go for cross validation. You can even go for regularization. You will understand with one kind of regularization called lasso. You can apply lasso so that it is a kind of feature elimination or feature selection. So lasso regularization, we already mentioned that, right? The equation yesterday. So this is actually feature kind of selection, right? You can do feature selection with this. So when you perform lasso regularization on this, ultimately we will come to know which are the features which are important to you, right? I wanted to discuss about that also. I wanted to discuss about cross validation, right? I wanted to discuss about cross validation, and I wanted to discuss about logistic regression. So these are the things left, and this we will be examining. I won't be doing the hands-on session, rather I will be coming with the code only. Let's see whether I can do the hands-on session on tomorrow, right? But this is left as assignment for you, at least one job, right? So now you try to predict, try to build a model using that feature, using number of rooms. This is an assignment for you, only this part. If you do this, then we can go do the cross validation and logistic regression, lasso regression for regularization, but which can be used for feature selection. You can also go for cross validation. So with that, we can stop now because it's already time. Please join at 1:45 itself for the next session because otherwise, yeah. Thank you. I hope you understood. Now you can ask me doubts. Over to you, Biju sir. Now you can ask me doubts. Those who have any doubts so far, you can ask me. So see you on tomorrow. At that time, I will try to talk about this plus neural network. Okay, because tomorrow session I can extend so that I can handle it according to my way, I guess. Because after first session, I will be handling the entire session tomorrow, so that I can focus on this and neural network part, CNN and deep neural network. Hands-on also we will try. We will learn, right? The morning session we will learn the theory of deep neural network and convolutional neural network, and the afternoon session we will talk about the hands-on session on it. And at that time, I will talk about the lasso regularization, cross validation, and logistic regression. Thank you. Those who have doubts, you can ask me. It is better to scikit than normal regularization. Normal, what I did not understand. Better to scikit than normal regularization. It's better to scikit. I did not understand. Normalization. Yeah, normalization is already done for you. The features have been already normalized. You can see that all the features, maybe room size is not that, but you can normalize. Yeah, what you said is right. You can normalize as you can see the increase in the accuracy. You can go for normalization also. Feature normalization you might have told, right? Yeah, that you can do. Especially in support vector machine, it is important to normalize your features before you apply to that algorithm. Normalizing means you will scaling the features in between 0 and 1. Yeah, you can go for normalization also. Please share the PPT of yesterday's theory session. We need reference for this assignment. Yeah, sure, I will share. No, I think I have shared yesterday. If not, I will share it now. So, this is the thing. I will share the link now, right now. Yeah, I haven't shared yesterday. So let me copy the link. I'll paste it in your chat window so that you can have it. Thank you. Video, I don't have it. I think from college they have recorded the video. I think Biju sir will talk about that. While doing scaling for complete data set, we may come across loss of information. Yeah, but scaling means you are actually normalizing means there are a lot of normalization techniques like min-max normalization, standard scaler, a lot of things are there. So support vector machine kind of algorithms, you need to normalize the features. That's what I have learned. Compare with the normal equation. Yeah, I did not understand what Madam is talking about. Hemendra. Compare with the normal equation. Yeah, I mean, you might be hinting that we can go for scikit-learn methods compared to, yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to make people understand that how the theory works. That's the reason why I told about how the normal equation works, and I have asked you to compare the same thing with the scikit-learn, and you found out the same theta zero values, right? Yeah, for that I have illustrated. So that's all. I think I have answered all the questions. Over to you, sir. So, thank you for your patience for attending. Yeah.